Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart, and today we are going to tackle a conversation that comes up all the time, especially in chiropractors' offices all around the country. And it is the topic of, this will happen in yoga studios, gyms, every physical therapy offices, all the above. And that is the topic around, I'm always tight. That you think you're born that way. And we're going to dive into this. Listen close for this answer. It's very interesting of why this happens. It's not what you expect. You might not even like the answer, but nonetheless, there's a fix to it. And here's what I'll tell you. One, you're not born tight. We hear it. People say it all the time. Oh, I've always been tight. No, you haven't. You were born like Gumby. So every little child, they're loosey-goose. They can bend, flip, turn their bodies upside down, backwards, and do crazy, amazing things with this crazy, amazing human body. And as we age, things start to change. We start to see mobility change. We start to see range of motion changes. And in a moment, I'm going to go into that reason of why this happens, and it's an eye-opener. I probably should be talking about this much more often because it is a critical part of our health. We often hear about our cardiovascular health and our lungs and our strength and all of those things. But I tell you what, the inability to move is in the top three things when it comes to your longevity. If you cannot move, you are headed toward the no-no land sooner than you need to. So strength, of course, mobility, of course, and then stamina. And we're just going to cover mobility today, but nonetheless. All right, with that being said, folks, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in to another Health Made Simple show. Keep doing your thing. Keep sharing out. Keep spreading love. Keep talking about it. We find that more and more people are doing that, and we're getting more and more impact on people, which is the whole reason we're here. We're going to continue to provide best we can, some free input for you guys to keep leveling up your lives and your health. All right, with that being said, why are you always tight? Why do people tell me all the time, Doc, my hamstrings? And just for this podcast purpose, I'm going to talk about two things. Talk about your hamstrings, and I'm going to talk about your traps, like your neck. When people always reach back, oh, my neck is always tight, and you can feel like these big trigger points that are built up into your neck. Why is this happening? All right, so brace yourself because here it comes. It is not because you're tight. It is not because necessarily even that the muscles have shortened. They are contracted, but they are not necessarily shortened. What has happened, so when people say, oh, my so-and-so, sometimes I'll hear them say, oh, my chiropractor told me I'm born with tight hamstrings or short hamstrings, or my physical therapist told me that. Nope, all that is BS. That's no truth to that. They would also have no way to measure that. That being said, this is what it comes down to. When you are chronically tight, your nervous system doesn't trust you with what you're doing to your body, so it is trying to protect you with your tight muscles. Interesting, right? So when you have chronically tight, say your trap muscles, very specifically, there's a muscle that attaches into your cervical spine and down into kind of the corner of your scapula. That's called your levator scapula. That's the name of the muscle. Levator means to raise the scapula, really means to raise the head up. If we always have our heads forward, down in our phones, at our computers, driving our cars, and our heads in what we call a forward head translation, the body needs to tighten up that muscle on the posterior side of the body, the back side, and it's pulling back as hard as it can to try to bring your head back into normal posture. Because if we have misalignments, especially chronic misalignments, we're setting the body up to be deficient. We're setting the body up to break down. We're setting it up to have these degenerative processes. If I could tell you how many times people have told me, oh yeah, my doctor told me you have degenerative joint disease. Folks, it's not a disease. It's a dysfunction over time of poor posture. So nowadays it's a bummer. For the most part, almost all kids, because if you're 20 years old, you've grown up in the tech world, meaning that you've grown up with a iPad on your lap, and the head goes forward. So the muscles in the back of your neck are required. They need to. So your head doesn't land on the ground. They're always pulling back, so they stay tight and tight and tighter. So there's really three things that'll kind of cause this tightness, and I'll move into those in a moment here. So that's one area, and that's like obvious. So now I want you to imagine that every muscle in your body is trying to do its best to protect you. It is not trying to inhibit what you're doing. It's not trying to make you tighter so you can't move. It's literally trying to protect your spine, your central nervous system, and a lot of your organs, quite frankly. Because if you bend forward and you slouch in your chair all day long, the muscles on the backside are doing everything they can to pull your posture back up straight, and they're going to tighten down. When they tighten down, they start to create pressure on your nervous system. And I'm going to get you to the answer of this in just a moment. And it's not just yoga. That's a beautiful thing to incorporate, but there's something that's going to kind of sneak in there. Or maybe it won't even be that sneaky if you've listened to me enough. So your nervous system is trying to protect you. And I'll give you an example. So let's just say you have chronically tight hamstrings, and no matter what you do, you go to yoga 5 days a week, you're in the gym, you're stretching your hamstrings, and every time you stretch them, you feel like they snap back like rubber bands. And they probably are. And the reason is because what you do, how you sit, how you stand, how you sleep, how you move your body on a daily basis, the pressure on your nervous system, your neural compression, the nervous system being under duress is going to make you tighter. And as a result of that, your postures, your body is trying to use your hamstrings to stabilize your pelvis because of your sitting postures, because of your standing and driving postures, how you sit on the couch and how you sit in your chairs. And so the body, the nervous system is innately at work, in tune with what's going on. Say, man, if I loosen this, if I let these hamstrings go loose, we're going to have even more problems. So until you change your ways, I'm going to keep this sucker nice and tight. There's a good example. So I have some orthopedic friends, and this is where it always gets very, very interesting. So I have orthopedic friends, and under anesthesia, they say that they can take their patients' legs and while they're lying on their back and literally bring them up over their heads, and they do not tear any muscles. That's what's fascinating. Then you remove the neural component, and all of a sudden the muscle has plenty of length. The muscle, the tendon, the ligaments, they all working just fine. And that is where the proof is. So once we take out the nervous system and we just say, all right, can this anatomically, can your hamstring stretch? And the answer is yes, those muscles don't tear when they move their bodies around under anesthesia. And that's where it really gets fascinating. So that leads us to the question, what do we do with that? What do we do with it? If we are chronically tight, what are the three things that are causing this chronic tightness, this chronic situation of shortened muscles? Now, they're really contracted muscles. They're not shorter, meaning one's 2 feet long and the other one's 1 foot 6 inches. It is a contracted muscle, and as a result of the contraction, yes, it is shorter. So what do we do? There's really three things it boils down to. One is our mental state, our day-to-day mental state. And if we are in sympathetic dominance or we're stuck in fight or flight, which we see more and more people, and I think we're all a little bit guilty of it. We have so much outward, external stimulus at this point, our phones, just everything. There's so much noise out there, so much bombarding us physically, emotionally, chemically, so much happening that we are mentally, we're revved up more probably now than we've ever been. That's with or without our caffeine. The second part is just the chemistry. We can take certain foods and put them into our bodies, certain chemicals, certain stimulants. We all know that coffee revs us up. It gets us essentially a little bit tighter. But the ones that we're not paying attention to also have a damage. The ones that are creating chronic inflammation, the carbohydrates, the sugars, the forever chemicals, all of these things that are creating a situation in the body that the body has to defend itself. When these things happen, the nervous system, again, is wound up. But those two, we're going to set those two aside because we know the answers to those two. We know that, yes, we want to find some time to get grounded, to exhale slowly. The simple act of exhaling slowly allows us to move our nervous system from a sympathetic dominant state into parasympathetic. Keep in mind, folks, always that if you can exhale slowly, control your breath on the way out, you can't be stressed. So we know there's tools for unwinding us emotionally, to unwind us from our mental states. We got to practice them, right? And we probably need more practice than ever. Whatever you practice, you're good at. So if you practice being stressed out all the time and really wound up and on edge, then that's probably what you're really good at. So the other part is the chemistry. We know we should be eating whole food diets. You've heard me say it 1,000 times before. If it comes from a root, plant, tree, if it walks in the garden, swims in the sea, let's eat it. That means if it comes from God's garden, that needs to be the starting point. Foods that have one ingredient, preferably organic, preferably clean, not adulterated with chemicals and all that stuff. Put those two aside for just a moment, and all of those do matter. In fact, myself and many of the chiropractors listening to this, or if you have a chiropractor, I bet you that they can tell their patients' diets by just putting their hands on them. I know I can. We know people that are toxic because their tissues are mad at them. They do not trust them, so they start to tighten up. And again, that's what this boils down to. Your nervous system does not trust what you're doing to your body, and as a result of it, is creating lots of tightness throughout the body. And then we show up one day and say, my hamstrings are always tight, my neck is always tight. And it's a result of what you're doing with your body regularly that your nervous system simply doesn't trust that if it lets these muscles go, it's going to do a good job. Which then leads us to the idea of these massages we're getting out there. Listen, no one's more of an advocate of getting massage out there than me. But just going after these muscles that are tight clinically is probably the wrong thing. To get in there and tell your therapist, oh, make sure he's deep and pound, like grind this sucker out. No, it doesn't make sense. It's not intuitive. Your body's in protect mode and you're breaking down that protection. So your body's trying to build up the strength there, and then going in there, those really aggressive, really deep massages, if it's the one that's holding your neck back, your head back, your levator scapular muscle, your trapezius muscles, if you get those so broken down, your head goes forward more. And 4 days later, again, here comes that neck pain. Here comes all that tension headache coming right on back because you're getting a really, really deep massage. So are there other challenges with that? Sure, but that's fundamentally it. I don't agree with going after those muscles really aggressively. Rarely does it work out to be the good thing down the road. All right, but let me get to my point here. The nervous system is what's under attack, and it does not trust you, and that is why it's creating this tight situation. So what do you do about it? The best thing you can possibly do is get your adjustments, folks. Go find a chiropractor that is nearby to you, that you trust, that you have a good relationship with, that you can see him or her being on your health team, and create a relationship with them where you can see them frequently, where they start to get to know your body and understand when you're having a tough week and when you're not. And understand this, when you receive a chiropractic adjustment, and I know there's people out there who are haters and whatnot, that's fine. Let it be. Here's what I've known over the last probably 35 years of myself getting adjusted. Every time I get adjusted, I recognize my body give me a big thank you. And so many of you will listen to this, that when you get adjusted, one of the most common things I hear after an adjustment is, I can't believe people go without this. We have so many burdens that we carry, and your nervous system is the one that's carrying all of that, whether it be your chemical toxins, your chemical stresses, your emotional, your physical stresses, your mental stresses, all of those. Your central nervous system is the one that carries the burden for all of those. So when you receive your chiropractic adjustment and you take pressure off of the nervous system, you're in a neutral, usually you're lying down, either on your back or face up, and you release that pressure off the spine. In that moment, nervous system goes, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I might trust you again. I might start loosening up. So doing that along with your yoga classes, along with better postures, along with all of the other things we know that are super good for our health, whether it be a Pilates class or a yoga class or some physical therapy, or getting just some physical exercise in, making sure you're using your body back and forth. One of the reasons I'm such a yoga advocate is because you can't get away with much there, right? You're going to do stuff on the left side, then you go to the right side, and you're going to find one side it's not same as the other side. And in everyday life, you just lean into the one that's easier for you. But in a yoga class, you got to kind of get into it. You got to deal with it. And you got to sink into that discomfort and kind of own it a little bit. But the truth is, over time, and yes, yoga is to move with breath means, or gives us a great opportunity to start to create some of these balances in our posture. And it's why we don't necessarily, even though I will give people isolated stretches. It is not my favorite thing to do. People ask all the time, Doc, what's a good stretch? And then fill in the blank. I want to be of service and give people that. My fairest answer would be a yoga class. Oh, well, it's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard for me every single time I do it. But I'm doing what you're probably doing right now, and I'm sitting down. Our body doesn't like this. Your core muscles don't like this. The muscles that are surrounding and holding up your head and neck don't like this. Your posterior muscles that are competing with your pectoralis muscles on the front, they don't like this. They're all working hard right now. So what'll happen if the more you sit, the more chronically tight you become. How do I know this, folks? Sometimes we just have to look. We look at people and they are bent forward. They're rounding. They look like turtles. And I'm not being in judgment there. And you wonder what they do all day. They sit all day. And their muscles are getting tighter and tighter to the point where trying to stand tall or just lying flat on your back becomes uncomfortable. We're out of balance. And that, again, is your nervous system not trusting you. So how am I going to sum all this up? I'm going to say this. If you haven't already, go explore out. Go find yourself a chiropractor. If you live local to me, awesome. I'd invite you to come on down. I'd love to meet you. Love to be able to adjust you. Awesome. Here's the good news. If you happen to go to one or been to one in the past and it didn't work out great for you, go find another. That's it. There's probably another one a mile or two down the road. The good news, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of good men and women out there, and you should be picky. No matter whether it's your chiropractor or your medical doctor, whatever it may be, you should be picky. You're hiring them to be on your team and on your health team. So make sure you keep the standard very, very high. If it doesn't feel like a team effort for you and your health, bye-bye. Go to the next person. That's it. So if you're chronically tight, I know, tough one to swallow here, but if you have chronically tight hamstrings, you have a chronic imbalance, most likely in your spine and your pelvis, maybe in your feet and ankles, but most likely it's in your pelvis and your spine, lumbar, thoracic, and cervical spine. And if you continue to do the things that you're doing, it will continue to decline the function of your body. So if we move this same conversation into longevity, when we really think about what is longevity, it is how well can I be? It is my health span and how I move, how strong am I, how flexible my mobility, and then what kind of stamina do I have? And those are the three measures that we're using as we go here. All right, folks, with that being said, keep doing the thing. Keep raising the bar. Make sure you continue to level yourself up, always taking care of your mind, your body, overall wellness. Y'all be awesome.